In this video, we are going to do chromatic neutrals. Chromatic neutrals uses complementary colors, colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, in order to change intensity. Basically, you dull one out using the other. So you can choose one pair of colors, red and green, yellow and violet, or blue and orange. Those are complementary pairs. So what we're going to do is, if you'll label your paper chromatic neutrals, you're going to do a 9-inch, two. I'm just going to use the width of my ruler, 2 9-inch scales. And we're just going to mark those at every inch, like so. And again, we want 9 boxes, each of those being 1 inch each. You're also going to draw another one down here. And what I've done is I've just drawn another one using the same process, and I'm just lining it up with this one to draw my boxes. So again, it's going to have 9 1-inch boxes. So now we have 2 scales. So what I have chosen is to use red and green. So I'm choosing red and green as a pair. If you have just the primary colors like I asked you to purchase, then you're going to have to mix your secondary color. So depending on which pair you choose, like I had to mix my green. If you choose yellow and violet, you'll have to mix your violet, and if you choose blue and orange, you'll have to mix your orange. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to take my red. I have my red here, and I have my green that I've mixed up here. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to start with just my red. Okay, I'm going to start with my red first. And I'm going to take my brush, wet my brush, and you have your water, your palette knife, your colors, and of course your paint rag. So you can wipe off your palette knife or a paper towel. And I'm just going to pick up some water. My red is a little dry here, so I'm just going to pick up some water. And I'm going to paint that first box. Now, you may think that we're changing value, we're changing lightness and darkness, and that's not true. What we're doing is we're changing intensity. Remember, intensity is another property of color. Intensity is the brightness or dullness. So we are changing the brightness and dullness. Actually, we're going to dull it out, and we're going to bring it to a neutral. So it'll turn more grayish or brown as we add its complement to more and more of its complement. It'll get closer and closer to brown. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up just a little bit of, I've got enough green on here. It's probably more than, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my palette knife off first. Start with a fairly clean palette knife. And I'm going to just pick up a little dot of green, just a little dot of my complement. And I'm going to mix it with all of my complement here. Okay. So I'm going to mix that, make sure it's all mixed together. And I'm going to pick up my brush, and I'm going to paint the next square. Now I have this one painted, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to take a little bit of my green, not much, so a little dot of my green, actually probably a little less than that, and I'm just going to mix that in with my red. So you're just mixing little bits of your complement with your complementary color. So just a little bit of my green with my red. And again, it may appear what you think is darker, but it is not. It is what it's doing is it's just dulling it out. It's changing the intensity, It's not as bright and as vibrant. You'll see more of a change too as you get, and I'm just going to pick a little bit off of this side here because I didn't clean my palette knife. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Just going to mix some more. And I'm going to keep doing this as I go through my intensity scale. And what I'm hoping for is to get to a point of that where it gets more brown or gray. So I'm wanting to get it closer and closer to a neutral. Same thing, I'm going to keep mixing. I'm just going to pick up a little bit from this edge here. And I'm going to paint the next one. And notice how it's starting to get a little more brown. It's starting to change to get more brown. We still have 4 more, so. Again, with this, it's the same thing as mixing values. Is if you don't want to add, you can always add more of its complement, but it's hard to kind of take it back to what it looked like before. So just a little bit at a time, and if you don't see much of a change, then you can always add more. Clean brush. And look at that, that's just beautiful. See, now you're not going to get that by mixing red and black together. So this is a very, you're going to get this lovely color by mixing it with its complement. Just this brownish color. And I'm going to mix some more. And I may or may not get to that brownish color, and that's okay. I just want to see how I want you to see what you can do with its complement. And sometimes it works better going the other direction, which you'll see in just a minute what I mean by that. But notice again, I'm getting this lovely brownish color here. And as it dries, you should see more of a difference in those. And I'm going to pick up some more green, mix it with my complement. It also too will vary depending on what brand of colors you have. So just kind of, it's kind of interesting what kind of effects you can get. I've done paintings where I've used nothing but chromatic neutrals, and you just get a very rich, a nice richness to it that you don't get otherwise. So here's that. Like I said, you're not going to get that mixing black with red. So just a lovely. So my last one, I'm going to pick up maybe a little more with green, and I'm just going to mix that in. Kind of see how much closer I can get it to that brownish color. That's really not happening. So I'm going to pick up some more. Like I said, this is my last one, so I'm going to kind of live on the edge here and just kind of add some more to that. And I'm really living on the edge today. Not to mention I'm mixing up my red with my green paint there. So I'm just going to have to be careful when I do the next one. So, all right. So I'm not really getting that brownish, but I'm still getting some beautiful variations. So I'm going to use this. This is still kind of brown, but not, oh yeah, actually that's not too bad. Once you put it on the paper, it looks a little different. I like that. Okay. Notice that I added quite a bit more, so notice the change. Okay. All right. So that is going one direction. So I am going to get ready to do the next section, because what we're going to do here is we're going to start with the other color. So here we started with red. Now we're going to start with its complement here, which is green. Okay, so on the bottom scale, like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my other complementary color. So I'm just going to start with my green here, and I'm going to paint that first one green. Nice, lovely green that mixed up. So I'm just going to start there with the green with nothing else added. And I have on my palette, I have my green, which is right here, and I have my red. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to mix all of this green. I'm going to leave some of this over here, but I'm just going to mix this little dollop of green here. And I'm going to take, and I'm just going to get a little bit of that red. So the same thing, only we're working in reverse. So I'm going to be adding red to my green. So it may not seem much of a change, but I'm going to go ahead and try that anyway. So I'm going to paint that next to my first box. Clean out my brush. Oops, got a little crazy with my paint water there. Whoops, that's okay. There we go. And we're going to continue this process. I'm going to continue picking up a little bit of my red each time, mixing it with my green. Making sure that's all mixed up. And painting each one. Okay. Again, what appears to be value is not value. We're not doing lightness and darkness. We're dealing with the brightness or dullness. Again, clean out my brush. And again, I'm going to pick up some red. Pick up a little bit more this time. Sure that's thoroughly mixed up. Oh yeah. See, and there's a richness to this green that I just don't have with this up here. So I'm just getting some really nice variations of this green. So. And I'm just going to keep this process up. I'm going to keep getting more and more of my red, just, adding more of red to my green, so more complement, more of the complement to the color that I started with. And with this one I can see it's really starting to change. So. And again, remember that you will start seeing a difference you'll see more of a difference once they dry. So that tends to change it. And also too, on this, unfortunately, the sheen doesn't allow for you to see some of the colors, like color variations when you're looking at. So you can kind of see, maybe if I tilt it a little bit, and kind of see that a little bit better. So sometimes if you get to your brown rather quickly, then what'll happen is it'll start becoming more closer to the other color. So in other words, like this would get green to brown, and then it would go closer to red. So here we're getting kind of a grayish color, beautiful grayish color. And if I kind of, you can see that if I kind of get it, kind of do like a little wash, you can see how that's more gray. So you may have thought that this would render the same result, right? Well, we're mixing the same colors, but it's different when you start adding little bits of the other color in the other way. So it's a little bit of a different result there. So, like I said, right now I'm getting this really beautiful gray with my, oops, and I'm splashing water everywhere. So, again, let me kind of wash that out. You can kind of see it's more of a, now it's getting a little more brownish, but still got that gray going on. I have one more, so I'm going to mix a nice little dollop of my red with that to see what happens. And again, with this one I'm getting a gray, and like I said, sometimes it just depends on the colors you have. So you're either going to get a gray or a brown, and this one is just a lovely gray. Lovely dark gray. And again, if I take and kind of thin that out, you can see how it's more of a kind of a grayish brown color. And that's what we're looking for. Like I said, we're looking for that neutral, that gray or brown color. And you can see, I'll show you another one, another example of one that's already painted and dried, and so you can see this is also with the red and orange. So you can see how it becomes more brown, and then almost to a gray, because we get closer to a brown here and then more to a gray, and then here we get more of that brown. So it just depends on how much you're mixing, and you get a variation, but I just want you to see both as they change. All right. There are your chromatic neutrals using complementary colors. Wait until it dries, take a photo, and submit your work.